Welcome to Healthcare for All Washington's monthly speaker series. Tonight, Beth Lindsay from Invest in Washington Now will share the latest information on the Millionaire's tax and the role that we can play. I am Ronnie Shure, and I volunteer as president of the Board of Directors for Healthcare for All Washington. As healthcare advocates, we are walking the pathway to universal healthcare with the intention to change from a healthcare marketplace to a true universal healthcare system. Please add your support on our conversation tonight. In the Zoom chat, we will be posting a link to our website where you can find the donate button. We would appreciate any donations that help us maintain our footprint, both on social media and having a foot on the ground in Olympia. Then you can navigate to the Get Involved button. That's a place where you can volunteer. And while you're on our website, make a donation if you can. And we have set a goal to raise $500 during this program tonight. You can go to the chat anytime, and even though you'll see the donation button and the Get Involved button, you can add your questions to the chat. We will have Beth do a presentation, and then we will start the Q&A after that. So please enter your questions at any time during the meeting. And check out our website after you leave us tonight. You can find our legislative goals that we worked on last year. We are establishing and working with legislators to develop goals for 2027. You can find our long-term vision. You can find our strategies to move along this pathway to a true healthcare system with everybody in and nobody out. So there's lots of reasons to look at our website. And so after you will notice that at the bottom of your screen there is that chat button, but there also is a button for closed captions. And by hovering over that circle at the bottom, you can click on the three dots and open closed captioning for yourself. I am participating in this Zoom meeting tonight from the lands of the Coast Salish peoples. People, please take a minute to acknowledge peoples in the lands where you are joining us from today. I see people from as far away as Oregon. We acknowledge all of the ancestral homelands and traditional territories of indigenous peoples across those lands. We thank the Coast Salish peoples of this land, the land which touches the shared waters of all tribes and bands within the Duwamish, Muckleshoot, Puyallup, Suquamish, and Tulalip nations. So let's welcome Beth, and I'll ask you to unmute. She spent the last 25 years helping elect Democrats up and down the ballot, leading initiative campaigns, designing winning public relations and advocacy programs, and pitching and placing earned media to shape news coverage and to change public opinion. Tonight, Beth is going to help us find our place to protect what we consider one of the major victories then since we've been following the legislature, and certainly a big step in 2026. So Beth, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's so nice to be with you all. And I always love speaking to groups of passionate advocates. So happy to be here. I'm Beth Lindsay. I use she, her pronouns. And as Ronnie said, I'm a communications consultant with Invest in Washington Now. We are a nonprofit that was formed 6 years ago, right before the pandemic really started. Our sole goal was to advocate for progressive revenue. So we were there during the capital gains fight, helped to build the narrative, the public narrative around that, and build support and make sure that legislators felt confident and empowered to take those tough votes and have those tough conversations. And we saw the bill through a legal challenge and a ballot challenge very successfully in 2024. And now we were very proud to help advocate and pass in kind of a whirlwind session the millionaire's tax. So I want to tell you about that tonight. Unlike capital gains, which was about a 10-year legislative process, and so it was very well socialized, the millionaire's tax was really got off the ground last fall. The governor came out with his support of it during December, and then we were off and running through a very uh, eventful session. So a lot of people don't have the experience of the millionaire's tax like they did with capital gains. So I'm very excited. I'm going to talk to you about how it works and who pays the tax, how we all benefit from it. I want to help you understand our message and what you'll be hearing throughout the campaign. And the campaign I'm referring to is that there was an initiative just filed last week to repeal the millionaire's tax, and we are slated to help defend it. So I need your help in doing that. And at the very end of my presentation, I have an action for you all to take if you're willing. So let's get started. But before we dig in, I want to just pause and reflect on the fact that we did this. As I mentioned, it was a short session. It took lots of folks coming together to advocate, to try to fix our upside down tax code. And this is a very historic win. So I know you all had a role in this, and I want to say thank you and just appreciate everything you did. And I'm curious what kind of actions you took. So if you could put in the chat, choose a letter. It could be all of the letters. I know you're a very engaged group, but I'm just curious what kind of action you took, because we heard from people across the state and every community, and I think that's really what brought this bill over the finish line, is the strong support. So curious what folks did here. All right. And then again, before we jump right in, I want to just remind us and ground us in the fact that Washington has a very regressive tax code. In fact, it is the second most regressive in the nation. It means that people with low and moderate incomes are paying a higher percent of their income in taxes than the wealthiest. We have such a amazing state. We have created a lot of wealth here, but we're not asking the people at the top, those with the most, to pay their share. So we're working to fix that and to build a budget, a state budget, where legislators can count on revenue to fund our priorities like healthcare, like education, and the other services that everybody here depends on. So let's talk about the millionaire's tax. As I mentioned, it passed just this last session. The bill was 6346. It's a 9.9% tax on income over $1 million. So if you and your spouse together make $999,000 a year, you do not pay this tax. It's just on any amount over $1 million. This is estimated to bring in $3 billion a year to fund these important programs. And it's slated to take effect in just a few years, 2028, with revenue starting to come in 2029. We'll talk about how ballot and legal challenges might affect that shortly. So who's going to pay this tax? Well, this is a tax that'll affect just a very small number of people. Our friends at the Budget and Policy Center created a map of where those folks live, and I'll share that during the break, but it's a really cool. You can see exactly where these 22,000 households live. These are people who bring in an average of $3 million a year. So these are really wealthy people. They're making $250,000 a month or around $2,000 an hour. So that's just to give a little perspective, because we think, oh, $1 million, that seems doable, but a lot of us do not bring in 250,000. My income is far less than $250,000 a month. Okay, so time for my next quiz, because I want to keep you on your toes. And this one, you don't have to put it in the chat. I don't want to out anyone in this room, but I just want you to kind of think about who this tax will apply to. If you're making $1 million a year or more, are you among the wealthiest 1% or one of those 22,000 households? There's very few of us here. 99% of Washingtonians will not pay this tax. I want to move on next to who is going to benefit. And spoiler alert, that is all of us. There are quite a number of benefits. First of all, the millionaire's tax expands the working families tax credit so that 1 million more people in Washington are now eligible. This is a cash rebate for low-income working people, putting money right back into their pocket. So now 1 in 5 Washington households will see the benefits of this tax. One of the other ways that everyday people are going to experience the tax is that it eliminates sales tax on a variety of products, some over-the-counter medications, hygiene products like shampoos and soap. This will save most families hundreds of dollars every year. The millionaire's tax is also a win for small businesses. It is the largest tax cut for small businesses in state history. It's going to eliminate the B&O tax, a pretty regressive tax. This is on gross receipts. So any business with gross receipts under $250,000 will no longer pay the B&O tax. And that means more money staying with small businesses, more money staying in our communities, more spending power locally. It's just going to keep money moving through our economy. The millionaire's tax is a huge win for kids and their parents. It will fund free school meals. It's breakfast and lunch for all students in public schools in Washington State. So I have a 15-year-old, and I am very excited that I do no longer have to pack a lunch for my kid. And I think lots of other families can say the same. And then a portion, just as important as making it more convenient for parents, a portion of funding will be dedicated to early learning and childcare. It's really great to keep the next generation prepared for the future. And the tax is a win for tax justice. We're all working towards a more balanced and equitable and just tax code. And you'll see in this graph that combined with the capital gains tax, the working families tax credit, and the millionaire's tax, we really are finally seeing some equality coming in our tax code. We're asking those at the top to pay a little more, and we're giving some relief to the lower and middle income earners. So super exciting. I want to next walk you through some scenarios, because those are just numbers, and I want to just help you understand what this is going to mean for real people. So I have 3 scenarios. I'm going to start with a working mom. She's got 2 kids living in King County. She's got a toddler and a school-age kid. Her household income is $65,000 a year. So with the elimination of the sales tax on some of those hygiene products, she's going to save $200 a year. Then with the universal free school meals, she's saving another $1,300 in savings. She's now eligible for the working families tax credit. So that's $995, a rebate back, cash in her pocket. So that's a total of about $2,500 in savings every year. And then when we add in this expansion of childcare and healthcare for Apple Health for Kids, her family can save between those 2 programs $33,000 a year. It's crazy. It's like half her income, right? Like this is real relief for working families, working parents. So really exciting. My next scenario is a college student. In the original working families tax credit, they were not eligible because of their age, but the age eligibility requirements were lowered. So they're now eligible. And they get about $335 back in savings. And then they're also going to see some of the benefits of the sales tax when they, buy deodorant and shampoo and things like that. So that's another $25. And next, there is a salon owner that she is currently bringing in $300,000 a year in gross revenue and would pay $4,500 of that in B&O taxes. Under the millionaire's tax, she's seeing some other legislation, the impacts of other legislation and the millionaire's tax. So she went from paying $4,500 a year to zero B&O taxes. Pretty incredible, and would make a real difference. We're going to see this, the biggest impact here for businesses that are just starting out. And frankly, that's when it matters the most. So those are some real world examples. And now I love the quizzes. So wanna ask you to think about how you will see these benefits. So go ahead and put this in the chat. If you have a kid or a grandkid in public schools, if you know somebody who could use a break in childcare costs, we're all out there buying shampoos and soaps and things, so we're going to see a sales tax. I want to hear all of the ways that um, you might experience the millionaire's tax benefits. Okay. So I want to share with you how we're talking about the millionaire's tax. I really want you to understand that because we didn't get much of a chance to kind of roll out the millionaire's tax and talk about all of the benefits before this campaign is starting. So I just want to make sure you're grounded in this understanding. And sometimes when we talk about policies like the millionaire's tax, we get really caught up in the details. We focus on the minutia and we forget about talking about the benefits, and we instead focus on kind of the ingredients. So I would encourage us all to take a tip from Betty Crocker. So when Betty Crocker is selling her brownies, the marketing folks there do not put a picture on the box of what is inside of it, right? What's inside the box is brown powder. It's sort of dull, it's not so appetizing, you have to do some things to it, right? And the brown powder are the ingredients, just like they're the ingredients, the policies and the details are the ingredients for the millionaire's tax. So I want to instead think about what we call the brownie. Imagine this ooey gooey, chocolatey, delicious treat. And that's how we should talk about the millionaire's tax. Not about the brown powder, but we're going to focus on the benefits. Once you make the brownies, this is what you get. Once you pass the millionaire's tax, we're going to talk about the benefits. So the very top line message for the millionaire's tax is that it is a huge win for working families, small businesses, and kids. It's a huge win. And I want to walk you through a little bit about our narrative arc on this. Ronnie, would you read this for me? I'm just going to call on you because I know you can unmute yourself.
All of us, no matter where we live or how much money we make, deserve to live in communities with good schools, quality health care, stable jobs, and clean air and water. But in Washington, the way we collect taxes is inequitable and upside down. Our tax code is one of the most regressive in the country. We came together to change that. We helped to pass a new millionaire's tax, requiring the wealthiest people in Washington to pay more of what they owe. Together, we're funding our future and creating a state where everyone has the tools to build a good life.
Thank you, and well done. All right, so that is kind of the frame that we're going to use that you'll hear throughout the campaign. The campaign is also going to talk and share the risks, what's at stake with an initiative to repeal the millionaire's tax, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But I just wanted to kind of make sure that everyone leaves here understanding how we're framing all of the benefits of the tax. So again, little quiz just to make sure you're paying attention, and it's really helpful for me to know what you're taking away from this presentation. Is, I hope you're leaving with understanding our message and our narrative and feeling ready to have conversations. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always contact me or go through Ronnie, and he can connect us. I'm happy to, if you have a book group or a Rotary Club or any other organization that should hear about this, I am happy to come and talk to you. So I want to move on to tell you what's next, what you might see and hear out there. First of all, right after the bill was passed, the former Attorney General, Rob McCann, filed a lawsuit challenging its constitutionality in Klickitat Superior Court. That's in Eastern Washington. This follows a similar model to what we saw during the capital gains tax challenge, which is that the opponents kind of shop for a judge and where they might expect to win, and then go through the Superior Court process there. We during capital gains saw that our sitting Attorney General then asked for a direct appeal to the state Supreme Court, and we expect that again this time. So, but that won't be probably until 2027, 2028. In the meantime, a group called Let's Go Washington, it's led by Brian Haywood, who is a wealthy hedge fund manager, has collected enough signatures to challenge the millionaire's tax at the ballot. The initiative is called IB 26-645. We're just calling it Initiative 645. They turned in the signatures last week, and we expect them to be validated and that the measure will be on the fall ballot. So we are actively working to defend the millionaire's tax. But we can't do it alone. It's going to take all of us. So just like we came together to get the tax passed in such a short session, it's going to take all of us having conversations with our neighbors and friends and other groups that we're a part of to get the word out. So as the campaign ramps, it just launched today. The No campaign just launched today. So you'll be seeing more signs of that out in your community, and it'll be on the airwaves, and you're just getting the preview of what's to come. But one of the things you can do right now as the campaign ramps up is just to pledge to vote no on Initiative 645. And then, please get out there and talk to your neighbors and friends. There'll be other ways to volunteer for the campaign and to, be a part of the effort to defend the millionaire's tax. But right now you can pledge to vote no, and I hope you feel informed and ready to get out there and spread the word. So with that, I think I'm 25 minutes on the nose practically. I will stop, and we can take a break, and then I can come back with any question and answer any questions. There usually are lots of questions, and it's a lively debate. There's a lot of misinformation out there, so I look forward to straightening the record, setting the record straight, and helping you understand this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Beth. Thanks. And you stopped sharing those slides, but that information will be available. We would certainly like to share their resources, just like Invest in Washington Now is doing that. So please feel free to check out our website to find those resources. So, I would like to ask you all to consider making a donation to Healthcare for All Washington. We know that it's more than just the healthcare bills that we are focusing on. We are paying attention to what's going on in Olympia. By donating to us, you'll help us to continue to keep our feet on the ground with a lobbyist in Olympia to track the bills that we're focused on, but also be aware of all the other factors. Beth mentioned childcare and education, early learning issues that are so important to our healthcare. But there are additional factors such as homelessness or immigration, other equity issues that really do make a dramatic difference in people's healthcare. So we use part of our funding to support that and to keep our feet on the ground there. We also have a communication specialist who keeps our website hopping and going and getting messages to you. We are basically a volunteer-led organization. So having these two different people working with us to support volunteers is the way that we can make a difference. So please consider doing that. One of our volunteers is entering that website into the chat. Please go there, and if you can, make a donation. Even small amounts, especially a monthly donation, can make a real difference. But our work is not going to stop at the end of the year. We really need to keep support going on from time to time. So please look at that. And while you're on the website, we also could use your help in volunteering. Your ideas are so important to being reflective of what's going on in our state and in our community. So please consider that. Look in your chat for that website. Bookmark it, save it on your computer, and please, if you can, help support us either by donations or by volunteering. And so let's bring back on Beth and one of our volunteers, John Sobeck, to answer that Q&A. And please keep adding your questions to the Q&A. John and Beth will be going ahead or will be monitoring that. So, John, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Sure. So John Sobeck, I'm a retired OBGYN and recovering health insurance executive. I've been with the organization about 2 years. I'm the current vice president and one of the board members. And I just want to make sure people saw what I put in the chat. I'll match the first $100 donated to the organization tonight. So hopefully that'll get us towards our $500 goal. So we have a few questions. Beth, if you're ready. One of the first questions I have is the $1 million normal income, i.e. W-2 income or other sources of income?
Ooh, a technical question to start. I believe this is W-2 income. It would be, what you would report to, on your federal taxes.
Good, thank you. Next question. Do you have access to the website for the No on 645 campaign?
Yeah, it just launched today, and I would be happy to put that
Put that in the chat, it'd be great.
Yep.
And the next question, I guess, is maybe I'm going to call this kind of a philosophic question about who signs the initiative to repeal this. There are not 500,000 millionaires in this state, so what kind of people are signing this? And I guess I'm going to put in part of the question is this just a kind of action against income tax in general in the state?
Can you repeat the last part of your question, John?
Are the people signing this check kind of against any kind of income
Yeah.
tax in general in the state?
Yeah, so what I'm going to combine a couple of these questions because they're pretty common. So our opponents, Brian Haywood and friends, are using some of the same tactics this time that they did for the capital gains tax. They are claiming, we like to call it the slippery slope argument. It's their best argument that it might be just a tax on millionaires now, but they're coming for you. And honestly, that is not true. Initiative 645, the measure that we'll be voting on, is applies only to millionaires. If you make $1 million or more a year, you will pay the tax. Everyone else will not pay the tax. Um, the scare tactics that the opponents are using are that they're coming for you eventually. But the governor has pledged to veto any attempt to lower the threshold for the millionaire's tax. There is just not appetite to do this in Olympia. The tax code that we have is the one that people ought to be afraid of. This is a tax code where low and middle income people are already paying more than their share while we let the wealthiest people off the hook. So, it's really easy to stir up fear and speculation about this, but in truth, the tax code we have is one that is really harmful to most of us, and it really benefits the wealthiest few. Brian Haywood and his friends are essentially looking to give themselves a tax break at the expense of the rest of us. The other argument that they use is that people will leave the state in order to avoid paying the tax. And again, this is a kind of a myth of wealth flight. First of all, 41 states have some kind of a tax on high income earners. So there are not many places where you can go to avoid paying a tax. And secondly, wealthy people we know from a number of studies make decisions about where they live just like the rest of us. They make choices about where the jobs are, where their family lives, the kind of quality of life that they want. So they often do not make decisions based solely on the tax code. So, I hope that answers just a couple of the questions. And these are the most common questions that we have. I guess I would just finally say that if the millionaire's tax threshold is somehow lowered in the future, voters will always have a final say in this matter. You can expect it to always go to the voters, and the voters will be able to decide.
So a simple question might have a simple answer. So will rich people leave the state and take their jobs with them?
Yeah, I hope I just answered that. I mean, there just aren't very many places to go. That even our neighboring states of Oregon and Idaho impose a tax on high income earners. There are only 8 states where you can go now that don't have that. And there's been a lot of speculation and fear mongering around this. But when you look at the studies, and there are a number of them, and I can share them after as a follow-up to my presentation. But if you look at those, it's well documented that wealth flight is largely a myth. And to Ronnie, I see a question from Ronnie here.
Yeah.
About the impact. They also used similar scare tactics on the capital gains tax challenge. And what we saw, in fact, are revenue from the capital gains tax exceeding expectations, which mean wealthy people didn't leave. In fact,
came out, yeah.
they paid, we found more wealth than expected, and people stuck around to pay the tax on it.
There's a question about, is this tax a legal test case designed to open the door to a broader statewide income tax? And I'm going to kind of reframe that question as Washington does have very regressive tax, whether it's liquor tax, tire tax, gas tax, all the others. So why not just revamp the entire tax structure? And should we be more just total income tax versus other things? And I will say Oregon over the last 25 years, because they are income tax based, have really had huge swings based on the economy, starting back in like 2000 with the internet bubble, where they used to have some of the best public schools in the state, and then they started running out of money, and their schools suffered. So states that are only income tax based have huge swings based on the economy. And is that somewhere we want to be?
Yeah. So I guess what I would say is I'm not a lawyer, but I do respect the process, and I have confidence that the Attorney General's office will defend this tax in Klickitat, Superior Court, and all the way to the Supreme Court. I don't want to speculate on the legal, the chances of what the court will do. As you all know, there are a number of seats, an unprecedented number of seats open this year on the Supreme Court. And so I think what the court does is largely unknown until we understand the makeup, of the next court. This bill, I think the question is maybe a little bit cynical. The purpose of the bill was to fix the tax code. I think there will also be a legal process that about the constitutionality of the tax. But the real purpose wasn't to a legal test. It was to fix the tax code because it's broken. Looking at a question from Carolyn. Is there an elected Democratic leader who led this effort? I think we have to give kudos to all Democratic legislators. There wasn't a single Republican who voted in favor of the bill, but they all took really hard votes and will have to be accountable for those votes in the upcoming election. What I know from the capital gains tax challenge is that not a single legislator lost their seat if they voted on the capital gains tax. So I expect, we know that the capital gains tax was very popular. The millionaire's tax and asking wealthy to pay what they owe is broadly popular. It won, capital gains won in most counties in Washington, including very red counties in Eastern Washington. And everyday people, low and middle income earners, working families, are eager for this kind of reform. They want the wealthy to pay what they owe, and they see wealth inequality as a huge issue, and they see the state struggling year after year to fund the services, and that a fairer tax code is the way we're going to get to a more just revenue sources.
As we increase revenue sources in Washington, there's people who I know, people who I am relatives with in Eastern Washington, talk about how do we decrease spending, not just increase revenue? How do we balance those two things based on this new millionaire's tax?
That's a good question. And I would say that what I know is the caseloads, DSHS caseloads, and special education needs and healthcare services are more in demand than ever. I don't believe we have a spending problem. I believe we are not meeting the needs of every person in Washington so that they have the tools that they need to make a good life for themselves and their families. I don't think we're taking care of everybody. I don't believe that we have a revenue problem. We have a problem where we are asking low and middle income earners, and people are feeling that, right? There is an affordability crisis, that there is no doubt that people are feeling taxes, but we if we ask the wealthy to pay what we owe, I think we can fund more of those programs. I see Debbie's question. Has Washington State already allocated some of the revenue from the millionaire's tax? And do we anticipate using?
I think the question about this, have they started spending this money, and is any of this money going towards the Washington State Committee? I assume they represent, or they're talking about the UHCC working to design and implement a single payer system in Washington State. So the question is, as the anticipated revenue comes in starting in 2029, is any of this going towards a plan for universal health care?
So most of the money is going to go into the state's general fund. And legislators have earmarked a small percent of that. I think it's 5% to go to childcare and early learning programs. So they can't really spend money they don't have. The state writes a budget, an operating budget every 2 years. So they will create a budget when they have they'll ask the Department of Revenue for projections on the millionaire's tax if it survives the legal and ballot challenges, and then they'll incorporate just like any other revenue stream, they will incorporate that when they write that 2-year budget. So they're not spending it yet, and they can't legally. They have to have a balanced budget every 2 years.
So that's a good follow-up question. If this gets shot down either by initiative or other sources, what's next?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think one that legislators are really grappling with because right now we are stuck in a cycle where we're running short. We fall short when we don't have adequate revenue, and that has been the last several cycles, right? We just don't have all the money we need to pay for what people depend on in terms of services. We're funding education. I think the education spending as a portion of the state budget is down. It's down to less than 50% at this point, and that's, as you all know, the state's paramount duty. And so we have a lot of needs and not the adequate revenue sources. So the legislators, if the millionaire's tax doesn't pass or is struck down by the courts, we're back to sort of square one in terms of what can we do to fund the programs including healthcare, that we need. Howard, I will get you that map. It wasn't at my fingertips, and it should have been. So I'm sorry about that, but I will make sure Ronnie has it as a follow-up.
I think part of the answer to that question is you'd be surprised how many Eastern Washington red state people, especially farmers, are above $1 million a year earnings. Yeah. Not all Seattle people.
Yeah, the map is pretty is pretty shocking that the concentration there is wealth in every state. I think there are a couple of there's wealth in every county. There are a couple that are the numbers are pretty low, and the Department of Revenue can't actually say how many people there might pay the tax. But as you might expect, the concentration is in King County. And this map is of legislative districts, and it's like 41, 48, 46. These are, Seattle and the East Side are just the winners in terms of the number of folks who are going to pay this tax. By far the biggest. Yes, the one from the Economic Opportunity Institute. It's brand new data.
So thank you. And it's important for us to realize that this is an important step. The millionaire's tax may not be the magic bullet that solves all of our problems, just like you mentioned. We've got some work to do to fight or to struggle for improvements all along the way in each area. Healthcare is an integral part of that, but we do realize there are so many other parts of it. So Beth, thank you for leading us in this discussion tonight, and for sharing your work over the years, in changing our democracy and making it more meaningful to people on the bottom end. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And state taxes are an integral part of financing a pathway to universal health care for all of Washingtonians. So thanks for your contribution to the community. So before I thank everyone and give you a few next steps for Healthcare for All Washington, I'd like to bring up another one of our board members, Marcia Stedman, to talk about an event on July 22nd. Marcia, let me spotlight you. Go.
So thank you, Ronnie. Thank you for this interesting webinar. Appreciate your being here, Beth. So what we're planning is to be tabling at the Puyallup Washington State Fair. And so in order to do this, we need to increase the number of people that can come out and help us table. And so to prepare for that, we are having a tabling workshop on Wednesday, July 22nd. And I'm going to put a link to where you can find out more information and volunteer online for that workshop. We'll be sending out some more information in an email in the coming week. But what we will do is connect with members of your community and who also may be feeling the effects of the federal chaos in our healthcare system and are maybe just as fed up with our broken system as you are and ready to do something about it. We'll tell people about Healthcare for All Washington and our approach to solving the healthcare crisis in our state. We'll share healthcare experiences, and we'll help grow our grassroots network throughout the state of Washington. So the dates of the fair are the Labor Day weekend, September 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then some Fridays later in the month of September, the 18th and 25th. So if you're interested in this, and I hope some of you are, please, I'll put a message in chat and with the link, and you can reply to us there, or we'll be contacting you anyway. We'll be sending you emails. So thank you, and I hope to see you on the 22nd.
So July 22nd. So go to our website. You've already bookmarked that on your website or on your computer. So watch for that announcement, that email coming out, and for an announcement on our website. So thank you all very much. And join us, for our August and September speaker series. On August 12th, we'll have a presentation from Spokane. The leader of the Community Health Association of Spokane will talk to us about the history of their community-based clinics and how they established a place where there's more access and where there is democratic control of a clinic situation. We've looked at community clinics in other parts of the state. So this is our chance to go to Spokane. And then on the second Wednesday in September, the 9th of September, we're going to take you over to the United Kingdom. Clarence Spigner, who is there now, University of Washington professor in their health and population program, who is leading a program abroad on the British National Health Service. So join us on September 9th for that program. So thank you to all of our volunteers who made this happen. You too can volunteer, so please let us know if you're interested in tabling like Marcia described or in another project. Go onto our website. There is a way to volunteer there and to participate, so please join us. So tonight, thanks in the background to Ron and Rich and DW who are doing the background work, to John for helping lead the Q&A, and thank you to each of you for joining us tonight. So we look forward to seeing you in August. Thank you all very much. Have a good summer.